Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the IB Me UBU show. I'm your host, Antoine Valentone, and joining me today is none other than Toan Dang. Toan Dang is the founder and CEO of Own Outbound, that's building the judgment layer above the sales stack. Tuan has over 20 years of inside high growth outbound sales experience. And Tuan, that's how you and I know each other. We were at
Yeah,
Freshworks together. So it's great to chat with you. And I'm excited to catch up and hear all about what you've been doing since our days there at Freshworks.
yeah, absolutely. Honored to be on your podcast, and it's quite exciting to reconnect with you. A lot has changed. I think it was but close to like maybe 5 or 6 years or so, right? So, um, yeah, a lot of time has passed since Freshworks, but I mean, time just really just goes by really, really fast.
Indeed. And I know from my recollection at Freshworks, you were one of the top, if not the top, sales performer, and a big reason why that company was so successful, and obviously IPO'd. And so credit to you. So I want to learn about your sort of sales journey. For starters, what got you into sales in the first place?
Well, I think it was a matter of survival, right? I've been in sales pretty much all my life. I think like even in grade school, I was like hustling candy door to door, right? Like in elementary school. But then as I grew up, like college, I was selling shoes at Nordstrom. Um, but I think it's just communication, but it kind of just fell into my life, right? Um, and I was pretty good at it. It's pretty good at it. And then after college, really, I really got into more of the cold calling, boiler room stuff, right? Like high frequency, um, outbound sales, uh, and just really grinding it out and really hustling. That was in college. Um, but after college, I decided to go into tech, just because I'm a Bay Area native, and that was kind of the thing to do. Good salaries, close to home. But I eventually started off as an SDR at a company called MindJet, and when you get into sales, especially when you're operating at a very high level, especially with your peers and the people that you work with, it could be very fast. It could be very stressful, but you learn a lot, right? You learn a lot. But I think my core foundation was really in college, when I was working for a mortgage broker and just cold calling, making like 300 cold calls per day, right? You're just working off a commission. But I found some success there during college, and that really kind of taught me, you really have to be quick on your feet, right? You have to be intuitive. You have to, instead of like meeting people in person where you have a lot of, emotional intelligence and different cues and behavior that you can analyze, I think over the phone really taught me to kind of just zone in and listen to what people are saying, right? And then how you say things. But you just really have to communicate very, very well and articulate very clearly what you're trying to accomplish to meet that other person on the other line eye to eye. And so that really taught me a lot in terms of the sales acumen that you need in order to be successful in a very high fast, very highly competitive environment. But as after my first, I guess my first rodeo as an SDR, when I actually graduated college, my professional experience, I eventually moved on into a closing role, as a territory manager at another tech company. But that was a different type of sale because it essentially was tech sales but it was more inbound driven as a territory manager. And I completely crushed it. When you're getting inbound leads and like free trial signups, that's kind of unheard of in my world prior to tech, right? You just really had to go after it outbound, right? Cold call people that you don't know, build trust, uh, build credibility, but then also, have a framework and a process in terms of how you're going to convert or create a win-win situation. But I think early on it was just really learning on my own and just really catching it, right? Being really focused on the outcome of what I was trying to accomplish, and then taking that with me to tech, right? So it's like throughout my entire 14 15 years in tech sales, throughout my 20 years in sales, it was that the outbound experience of cold calling and hustling and just getting after it really contributed to my journey and to my success, right? But after that, I went on to go work at other tech companies. Um, so I was 3 years at CoStar Group. They did commercial analytics, software, and then after that, I found Freshworks as the founding account executive there, and it was really tough, really tough, but not tough in terms of working for commission only, where I came from, and it's obviously it was really hard, but I think a lot of people when they look at startups or they look at a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty in certain environments, especially startup environments, it can be very scary. It could be very nerve-wracking, right? Because of the high success of failure, or the high failure rate within these companies and organizations. Not only that, it's like there's no rules, right? There's no playbooks. There's no sales enablement. Everything that I've learned, right, going into after experience tech and after experience Freshworks all the way up to IPO, and then working for other companies. The thing is that I'm a risk taker. I don't mind being bold and taking calculated risk because I know that my ability to sell and my ability to make things happen really impacts my decision on whether whether my risk adversity is high or low, right? So I really, honestly, as a salesperson, as a professional, you really do have to have a lot of confidence and a lot of faith, right? A lot of faith in yourself and a lot of faith, just in the world and the environment that you're in, but also a lot of confidence in your capability to execute. So that's kind of my journey, what I've been to so far. But I left out a lot,
Mhm.
obviously, but more than happy to elaborate. But I think when I met you at Freshworks, uh, yeah, I mean, I was just completely getting after it. Like again, coming from like somebody that's like making 200 calls, cold calls per day. I think if you compare that type of discipline and that type of ambition where into an environment where you have a really good product, you have great leaders, right? I got extremely lucky, of course, and I definitely couldn't have done it on my own due to the fact that what was around me, I was kind of like at the right place at the right time. I closed over at Freshworks 1,700 accounts, so I think it generated over $21 million for the company. So it was quite the run. It was really quite the run, and that I'll never forget. But I've learned a lot from it.
And I'm assuming over those years, you mentioned sales enablement. Was there any training either that was provided to you by employer or that you maybe found on your own that you would say was pivotal in your sales success?
I think it was just really when you're getting into a sales environment, a new environment, you really have to orient yourself uh, with the market, with the products and services, and then maybe after a week or two, or maybe even before that, right? It's like you're probably already gauging that you could sell this, by looking at the product, by looking at the value prop, the competitors, the type of customers. You can really understand a company by the way that they support their customers as well. So I would do my due diligence, right? But I think going into a startup that didn't have any of that, um, I would leverage either the team, jumping on you know other demos or other meetings that my colleagues had. But I think in terms of like ramping up, I think that the ownership should really be upon yourself to do that, right? Because the way that I see it, I take high agency and ownership in what I do. So whatever decision that I make, I decide that I'm going to go all in. And in order for me to be successful, I need to be able to do whatever I need to do in order to be successful. And so I think even without like sales enablement and training and ramp up period, I kind of just, I kind of just took ownership of learning, right? Like going into it with curiosity, but also taking whatever I can get to advance my skills, right? But I think the major part of me ramping up was really winning a key customer. So I sold a marquee customer, a key logo through Outbound, right? Through Outbound, just cold calling. So I cold called a CIO of a really big company, and I was really persistent, but he began to get he was getting oriented with Freshworks with what we did. But I think after a number of calls, I had lunch with them, right? Went to the East Bay, and then we just kind of kicked it off, and it was really establishing trust, right? Establishing clarity in terms of what the partnership would look like, of how I can serve him and his company and his team, and and how my company can also be aligned in that manner as well, right? So it was really a give get, but when you're selling into technology buyers at the highest level, uh, you do have to have a lot of humility, right? Because I'm going in there, I don't know much. I definitely don't know much, but that was a key moment when I did actually make the sale. It was really a partnership. It was a really long-term partnership, but I learned a lot from him due to the fact that he taught me a lot of the workflows, the use cases, the language, and also creating a case study, and then just being constantly there to help them, right? Help the client. And that gave me first real world experience on how to actually leverage that knowledge as well as that relationship to continue selling. So that was really my pinnacle moment for training.
And did you have any mentors along the way, or anybody, again, professionally or personally, that maybe helped in your development and success when it came to sales, or just maybe your personal professional development, even not necessarily specifically sales?
No, it was just, I mean, I've had mentors, but I mean, people that I looked up to and aspire to. I have friends that I look up to, but I think when you go through your career and you're really just by yourself. The way like you'll have friends and stuff like that, but I think you know from my perspective and my POV, throughout my career, it was just really lived experience. Learning through scars, learning through scar tissue. Made a lot of mistakes for sure, but I learned from them. And I think when you get older too, you kind of look back at it and you're like, well, I can't believe I survived that. But also like what you've accomplished, right? Because and then you really reflect like how would I want to lead a team? Like how would I want to manage a company and own like manage and lead a company? Um, you really do learn a lot, right? And I think it's a matter of just jumping in there and regardless of whatever mistakes that you make, of course you're going to learn. No one's perfect, but I think like throughout my journey, there's been friends and people that definitely gave me advice. But I think ultimately the decisions, right? The decisions and the direction and what I do ultimately landed on me. So not quite so. I wouldn't say like a mentor per se. I think I kind of learned a lot on my own.
Hmm. And that's great. I mean, I love the sentiment of taking ownership. learning from your mistakes and committing yourself to self-improvement. Um, and obviously, you've done quite well for yourself. And over the years, again, of experience as an individual contributor, you finally decided to make the leap and start your own business. So, talk to me about Own Outbound. What is that, and what drove you to deciding to go on your own and start your own thing?
I think that was the ultimate goal all along. Um, throughout my entire life, I think that was the pinnacle moment of like stepping into your own. Uh, Going being in sales, you do have an entrepreneurial spirit for sure. And I think most CEOs, right? Most CEOs, every CEO, they sell. Right? The best CEOs are salesmen or sales professionals, right? They're selling. Someone's got to sell, right? Um, but I think I was always afraid, especially when in my younger days, going through my career. I kind of held off on trying to start my own business. I mean, I've tried many different things, and actually, I have tried to start different businesses, but not as serious as this, right? Where I'm at a certain age, where I don't have the time, right? So it's definitely not a hobby, and I'm familiar with hobbies, but I think ultimately it was always the goal, but I was always afraid because I kind of held myself back because I wanted to learn more to ensure that I was completely ready, right? And I think when you're at a certain age or a certain point in your life and you've done this, you've done that, right? You've accomplished whatever you wanted to accomplish, what's next? And it's always for me, it's always about choosing the more difficult path. And the reason why is that I'm more attracted to experiences and learning, right? Self-improvement, right? Because if I stay in a corporate job or that's one reason why I left Freshworks is because I wasn't really learning. I completely crushed it. I knew it in and out and I mastered it. But I wasn't really learning. So but fast forward, and the reason why I created Own Outbound was really because of my 20 years of experience in sales and outbound sales. Not only going through different environments, but going through especially tech environments. I see where it's going, but I also see my peers, right? And I also see myself kind of uh, going through the grind of having uh, a lot of a lot of tasks, but also like a lot of distractions and noise. For example, like tool sprawl. There's a lot of different applications that you can use for sales productivity, for engagement. And so you have to jump from one window to one window, right? But when I was juggling, maybe like 40 different strategic accounts, right? Different buyer personas, different people, not only external stakeholders, but internal stakeholders. I'm juggling a lot of context switching. Uh, and what I've learned is that my cognitive load it's very difficult to maintain the context. And so I started Own Outbound due to the fact that if you think about, if you're selling a lot and you're very active, different calls, different people, different applications, different tools, um, very complex products and services. Own Outbound is a human-centered sales intelligence uh, judgment layer that sits on top of CRM, on top of the sales stack. So what it does is that it allows sellers to be able to find clarity, to cut through the noise by understanding and really finding clarity in their ICP. So if they're doing outbound calls or if they're getting prepared for the day, right? The first thing that they do is probably look at their calendar, their email, but also they have to generate and build pipeline. So throughout my 20 years of in sales doing exactly that, I thought about what type of system would I need in order to help me continue my momentum, to continue my edge, but also to help me find my buyer a lot faster, right? Because at Freshworks, for example, it took me years to find a repeatable winning process. So I asked myself, what do I need in order to do that? A lot of the time, so like 1,700 deals, do I have context on those deals, right? Do I remember all of them? What I do remember is I remember patterns. patterns, but not necessarily the details of those deals. And so own outbound, it actually retains memory. It persists over time to ensure that you recognize those patterns and that you cut through the noise, right? So it's essentially an intelligence layer that will collect all the signals from email, from voice, from all the sales engagement applications, as well as CRM and even the Zoom meeting and transcriptions, right? And if you think about it, a lot of that data that salespeople generate, it's not collected. Nobody's doing anything with it. They just forget about it, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to contextualize it to create meaning and clarity, and to help sellers understand their patterns, right? And their behavior. Because a lot of times we don't really think about that. I never had a chance to think about that when I was selling. I just kept going. I kept going. I kept with more volume, more calls, more emails. But with Own Outbound, it's not about calls or emails or volume. It's about clarity and quality, right? So if you have that type of data set and you have that type of mindset and acting deliberately with clarity, you can find your buyer a lot faster. And then not only that, your ICP, like the buyers, they change over time. It's not like a static list, like a Zoom list, right? You're building and exporting an Excel spreadsheet. Those are static lists, right? So that's really what Own Outbound is.
I love the use case, and I definitely think there's value in what you're offering. We've heard a lot about AI in the last, 12 to 18 months, and it's continuing to evolve rapidly. How do you see AI as a role, either to help sales reps, and is this going to be part of Own Outbound at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's already happening, right? There's already a lot of noise. Like AI is essentially doing 100 times the work of any human, right? So you're gonna get like what are people doing? They're they're spraying and praying, sending out blast emails, right? Doing AI SDRs, like you'll get those robocalls, and they're gonna advance. They're gonna continue to advance. Um, so there's going to be a lot of noise. There already is a lot of noise, and I can already see it, and I've already sensed it, especially when ChatGPT came out, like all the AI hype, right? But I think the top performing salespeople that are going to win are the ones that have clarity to cut through the noise, right? Because I think buyers today, they have very high distrust because they're getting solicited, getting emailed all the time. So it's very difficult to get your message across to them, right? But I think where AI should be is it should be able to help humans, right? Help people. But I don't think that is going to transpire. I think it's going to replace people, replace jobs. So my philosophy is always to have humans, human in the loop, right? Humans in control, because I think where AI can't officially or near term replace us is really the judgment layer, right? So that Own Outbound is the judgment layer for you to be able to use AI for your sales efforts to supplement your activity and to do more with it, right? And then for you to learn and iterate. So I think it's going to be a matter of time, like where it's going to go. But if you look at all the CEOs at these big tech companies, they're definitely looking to replace everybody. So and I don't doubt them. I definitely do not doubt them. But I also think that the human spirit, especially in sales, it's not going to replace us. Especially at a high level where you're dealing with you know um, especially with other industries being replaced. I think people are going to want to yearn for more human connection, and people buy from people. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. I still think that people generally want to buy from people that they like, and AI is a tool I think that can help sellers. But ultimately, I don't know that it will replace, at least not in the enterprise or even mid-market space. Perhaps in SMB, highly
Yeah.
transactional,
Customer
you know,
service. Yeah.
correct. Um, Tuan, you've got so much experience, and I know that you also have a bachelor's in business administration, which obviously helped you, I'm sure, as well. And I know you have some certifications when it comes to Python and ChatGPT. So I guess you've been broadening sort of your education to just be more well-rounded. What haven't we talked about that you feel is important for people to know about you and your sort of sales journey?
That's a good question. I think if you I think if you put your mind to anything, you can accomplish it. Um, I'm a big underdog for sure. I've always been an underdog, but I've used that to my advantage to do more, to fight through difficult times, to fight through the tough days, to fight through thousands or even maybe millions of rejections that I've had throughout my career. But I think if you put your mind to anything, you can really accomplish it. But it takes time. What I realized after 20 years, it takes time. So don't rush it. It takes time. Like I've always was like younger, it was like trying to rush things, but it's actually sweeter, like more satisfying and more rewarding if you just take your time, right? And so that's what I'm building. I'm building deliberately and I'm building slowly. And I love it. I love being in the moment and just taking my time. But if anybody wanted to remember me for something, it's really if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
I love that message, and I think from looking at your LinkedIn profile, we talked about mentorship earlier. You did some time mentoring
Yeah.
first generation college graduates. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm from San Rafael. Yeah, so I was just mentoring, my community where I grew up. Uh, college students today, younger people today, I think they have it pretty difficult, pretty hard, especially finding jobs. Um, Even though like we're like I'm a Bay Area native, but and there's a lot of people in the Bay Area, but there's a lot of people that are not in tech. And when I meet them and I talk to them, they ask questions about how did you get into tech, and it actually is very competitive for what it is. And so I mentored probably about 4 or 5 recent college graduates from like San Francisco State, San Jose State. Some of them were thinking about going to project management. Some were thinking about, they weren't sure what they were going to do. But I kind of gave them the playbook of what to do and how to actually gain entry into a tech company. And that that really takes hustling. That takes sales. So I'm all about it. Right? So it's like how you write, how you communicate, how you frame things, and how you say things, right? How you communicate your background. You really got to sell yourself, and you really got to get after it. And I think it's like kind of pumping them up, but I think a lot of people they don't have that sales DNA, or maybe even like that tech DNA, right? Kind of like getting after it, but it's my job to pump them up, right? It's my job to tell them, hey, you can do it as long as you believe. That's why like I'm all about having faith and having like 100% confidence. As long as you put your mind to it, you can do anything. So that's what I was doing. I was really just pumping them up, right? And then kind of like, giving them a breakdown of, how tech companies work, how they operate, pretty much giving them like, a crash course on sales too. So, and also politics, right? Corporate politics, that's super important, right? I think nobody really taught me that when I was actually, at that age, fresh out of college. But I think that's also important to understand, and how you collaborate and work with people. So I kind of gave them the rundown.
I love how you're paying it forward and sharing your knowledge and experience and helping those college graduates as they're getting started in their professional careers. Um, Tuan, this has been great. I know I've learned a lot and I've enjoyed the conversation. It's been great catching up with you. How should the audience get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your company and what you're doing?
Yeah, feel free to visit ownoutbound.com. So it's again ownoutbound.com, and feel free to reach out anytime, LinkedIn or my channels on my website. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, Antoine. Always great to catch up with you, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I will put a link to your website and your LinkedIn page in the show notes. So, Tuan, thanks again. Let's keep in touch. I'm looking forward to see what you do.
Thank you, Antoine. Bye, everybody.